Hello students, welcome to yet another session of our UGC-NET 1000 plus previous year question course on UGC-NET English Literature for your paper 2, right? So in this particular series, in this particular session as well, we will be taking a look at several questions which are related to your field of British literature, right? So एक एक करके उन questions को analyze करेंगे. We'll also be taking a look at the other options as well. So without any further ado, let's just begin. The first question that we have today is related to Ulysses, which is a poem written by whom? These are the lines of the poem written by Alfred Lord Tennyson. ठीक है? Now when we talk about Ulysses as a character has been inspired. If we try to talk about it, तो ये इंस्पिरेशन फ्रॉम होमर के ओडिसी से ली गई थी, ठीक है. नाउ व्हेन अल्फ्रेड लॉर्ड टेनिसन रोट इट, कुछ डिटेल्स इसके बारे में देखते हैं, देन आई विल ट्राई टू एक्सप्लेन द लाइंस एंड एवरीथिंग टू यू. दिस इज अ ब्लैंक वर्स रिटन इन द ईयर 1833. ये पोम है, इट्स अ पोम इन ब्लैंक वर्स written 1833 and published in the year 1842. इसमें ना बेसिकली इट्स द स्टोरी ऑफ, इट्स अ मॉडर्न वर्जन ऑफ होमर की ओडिसी का ओडिसी. ओडिसी हैज बिन टू डिफरेंट प्लेसेस, सो ही इज अनेबल टू कम बैक टू हिज लैंड. होमर की ओडिसी में हमें ये दिस इज वन सच थिंग दैट वी सी दैट ही इज अनेबल टू कम बैक टू हिज होमलैंड एटसेट्रा. बट इन Alfred Lord Tennyson's ओडिसी का जो modernized version है, which is Ulysses, in Ulysses we see that yes, of course, Ulysses does come back, but he is so much so, motivation lose करी हुई है, he is going towards the old age, so on and so forth, right? So Ulysses has a wife Penelope and also he has a son who is named as Telemachus. ठीक है, ये तीन लोग हैं, ठीक है. So Ulysses, wife Penelope and son Telemachus. So Telemachus के बारे में Ulysses in these lines, what is he suggesting? That most blameless he is he, centered in the sphere of common duties, decent not to fail in offices of tenderness. So he is patient and selfless. Telemachus, who is the son of Ulysses, is shown to be someone who is selfless, who is patient, who knows how to do his duty in a very religious sort of a manner. Like पूरा एकदम अपना 110% दे देते हैं. He knows not to fail but rather succeed. ठीक है, यही आता है उनको कि सिर्फ जीतना ही है. ठीक है, so this is what we get to see. अब एक चीज और important बन जाती है here, that Dante, who has written the Divine Comedy, Dante Odysseus के बारे में, ओडिसी के बारे में क्या कह रहा था ओडिसियस के बारे में, that he is मतलब डांटे ने उनको कंडेम करा है. On the other hand, if we try to talk about here, if we try to talk about Tennyson's version, Tennyson is trying to appreciate the curiosity that Ulysses has. ठीक है, तो इस चीज के बारे में ये थोड़ा दोनों में हम लोग को ये चीज देखने के लिए मिलती है. So Alfred Lord Tennyson wrote the poem. Also, if we try to talk about Ulysses as a novel, it has been written by James Joyce, which we have discussed in the previous sessions as well, right? So I hope this much is clear. एक चीज इसमें और है कि ये फॉर्म इसका ड्रामेटिक, इसमें एक ड्रामेटिक मोनोलॉग भी आता है. इट्स अ सॉर्ट ऑफ अ ड्रामेटिक मोनोलॉग. एंड हु इज मोनोलॉग, यानी एक ही इंसान बोल रहा है इन अ ड्रामेटिक टोन. हु इज दैट? इट इज यूलिसेस हिमसेल्फ. ठीक है, यूलिसेस खुद ही बोलता है. नेक्स्ट अप, आइडेंटिफाई द करेक्ट क्रोनोलॉजिकल सीक्वेंस ऑफ द फाउंडिंग of the following 18th century English periodicals. The right answer to this question is option A here. Just give me a moment here. ये end में ऐसे the हाँ जी. If we come back here, the right answer to this question is option A. Option A. मैंने इसको अगर आप देखेंगे Tatler we have already discussed. So based on that, first of all, let's just note down the years of these particular periodicals that have been given to all of us here. Tatler 1709 से 1711 चली थी. Then we talk about the Spectator 1711 to 1714. then the Gentleman's Magazine, which ran from 1731 to 1907, and then we have Rambler, right, 1750 to 52. I'll make you guys note down the chronological sequence of the most important periodicals as well. So grab your notebooks. Fatafat se, let's just note them down. So first off, we have the Tatler, 1709 to 11. Then we had the female Tatler, 1709 to 10. ठीक है? Then we have the Spectator, 1711 to 14. Now some important details, कुछ important है साथ में. It was found by Joseph Addison and Richard Steele. This is important for you all to note down. ठीक है? The Spectator. ठीक है? Then we move forward to the Gentleman's Magazine. The Gentleman's Magazine, 1713 to 1907. ठीक है? 1907. Next up, the London Magazine, 1732 to 1785. ठीक है? Then the Rambler, 1750 to 52. Then we have the Adventurer, 1752 to 54. It was founded by John Hawksworth, Samuel Johnson, and others. Then we move forward to the next one, the Bee, 1759. Short-lived थी ये, बहुत short-lived थी, for several months only it ran. Short-lived, but it has been asked in your PYQs. In what sense am I saying this one? So this was your particular work, which was a magazine which was found by none other than हमारे एक writer जो debt में मरे थे. The person who was having so much कर्जा on his head, he had so much debt on his head that he died in debt, right? So because of that, we see that, and of course we see his name popping up whenever we try to study English literature. So it was a short-lived magazine written by Oliver Goldsmith, the writer of the famous work She Stoops to Conquer, right? Oliver Goldsmith. And ये ऐसे writer थे कि चाहे जितना मर्जी इनके पास पैसा आ जाता था, even if he was taking debt, so he used to spend much and more lavish lifestyle पे. And the last one to be noted down, The Watchman, 1796. 1796, Samuel Taylor Coleridge. ये पूछा गया है, मैंने इसको क्लास में भी, मेन क्लास में भी we do it in the notes as well, right? So note the names of these following important magazines. Right? Next question. In book 8, Paradise Lost, Adam identifies his chief flaw or weakness to Raphael. What is this flaw? Who is Raphael? Raphael is an angel, ठीक है, जो God भेजते हैं. Why is he being sent? Now Raphael is sent to Adam to tell him how the earth was created, how things were there, and also to warn Adam against something which, some sort of temptation that might happen, because God is the Almighty, ठीक है? He is one such person who knows what is to happen. So he knew, God knew that Satan आएगा इनको seduce करने के लिए. So he sends Raphael to make sure and warn Adam against this particular अपनी temptation से दूर रहना है, to stay away from the temptations that are there, right? So Raphael is one such person who tries to tell Adam about how day and night were there, how 6 days हम लोग को देखने के लिए मिलते हैं, 7th day पे God rested, इसलिए उसको Sabbath बोला जाता है, which we know as the concept of Sunday, right? So all these things are told to him by Raphael. ठीक है? अब कौन सी चीज एडम जो है अपने चीफ फ्लॉ के बारे में बात करता है, दैट ही सेज दैट आई एम हैविंग टू मच पैशन फॉर ईव, आई हैव टू मच पैशन फॉर ईव, बिकॉज इफ यू गाइज रीड पैराडाइज लॉस्ट, हम एक बार फिर से थोड़ा सा इसका वही कर लेते हैं कि 1667 में ये एपिक पोम है, 10 बुक्स में आई, ठीक है, बहुत बार रिपीट हो चुका है ये फैक्ट, 1674 में 12 बुक्स मॉडल्ड ऑन एनियज वर्जन, ठीक है. नाउ व्हाट हैपेंड वाज दैट if you guys would have studied the important quotes, इनको homework में करिएगा. Also if you see that Adam was one such who got Eve created, who was sleeping, and he one day he saw in the Garden of Eden, उसने देखा कि हर एक animal, हर एक bird etc. it had a companion. So he felt really bad about it, and what happened later on was that he went to God and he asked, like, can't you just please create a companion for me as well, right? So God, when Adam was asleep, God created God created Eve from his rib, ठीक है. Now when she was created, first of all इससे हमें थोड़ा concept of patriarchy देखने के लिए मिल जाता है, that how women is a part of man. So from his rib when she was created, it was told that yes, of course, she is supposed to be inferior to man, right? Now when Eve was created, Adam was so happy. So they used to make love, and at that particular time period, no concept of lust in the Garden of Eden was there, right? So he knows कि Eve मेरे को जो भी कहेगी, because I love her, I have a certain sort of a passion, attraction towards her, I will do it for her. And you will see it by the end of the book. जब books खत्म होती हैं, जब Eve she eats the fruit from the forbidden tree of knowledge. When she eats it, ना उस particular time period पे वो फटाफट भागी हुई जाती है Adam के पास, that I don't want to be left alone. I know that I'll be given the punishment. Could you please also eat the fruit? So Adam's passion also leads him to do the same thing for her. So he eats the fruit. He is one such person who, and both of them they blame one another as well. ठीक है, बहुत एक दूसरे के साथ झगड़ा करते हैं कि तुम्हारी वजह से हो, तुम्हारी वजह से हुआ. And then Eve goes to Adam, says that please eat the fruit so that we shall remain together always. ठीक है. So passion for Eve is the right answer here. Next up, identify the correct chronological sequence of the early English text that we get to see here. The right answer is option C here, the owl and the nightingale. The owl and the nightingale जो है ये आपको 12th 13th century में, ये 12th 13th century में देखने के लिए मिलता है. No specific date, no specific author. The owl and the nightingale is a poem which is known as a debate, ठीक है, a debate between what? A debate between a knight and the nightingale and the owl, and how the poet is listening to that debate. Then we have Troilus and Cressida. ये हमारे चौसर ने लिखी थी. This was written by Chaucer in the 14th century, ठीक है, 14th century में ये लिखी गई थी Troilus and Cressida, and इसमें हमें देखने के लिए मिलता है that Chaucer employs a new thing which came to be known as rhyme royale. Now what is rhyme royale? Rhyme royale is a 7-line stanza with the rhyme scheme A, B, A, B, B, C, C. This is the rhyme scheme of rhyme royale. Then we have Morte the Arthur. Morte the Arthur was one such work which was written by none other than Thomas Malory, ठीक है. Thomas Malory ने Morte the Arthur लिखा था 15th century में. So this was written in the 15th century by Thomas Malory, and it became the best seller of William Caxton. जब Caxton इंग्लैंड में प्रिंटिंग प्रेस लेके आए थे, he had got this particular work printed and it got sold. ठीक है. Then we have Utopia, ये हमने करा हुआ है, Thomas More, MORE वाला. ठीक है. Utopia means, what does it mean? It means nowhere. ठीक है. So these are certain important details. Morte the Arthur का मतलब क्या है वैसे? Morte the Arthur means death of Arthur. Who was Arthur? King Arthur. ठीक है. Death of Arthur. So it was a tale about the knights at the round table who have a meeting with King Arthur. ठीक है. Troilus and Cressida क्या है? Troilus and Cressida is a tragic love story. It's a poem. ठीक है. A long poem. Tragic love story of Troilus and Cressida when the war of Troy was happening, right? So that is what we see here. Option C. Next up, in the novel Morris by E.M. Forster appeared posthumously, right? It had a homosexual theme. So Forster considered its subject matter too indelicate for publication during his lifetime. So it means that this particular work of his will be published posthumously. It was influenced by a writer who was a socialist and an open homosexual. Identify the writer. The right answer to this question is option B here. Edward Carpenter say this particular work was, E.M. Forster was influenced from this real life character. अच्छा, कुछ important details जो हैं, let's just note them down. Morris, written by E.M. Forster, published posthumously in the year 1971 में करी गई थी publish. ठीक है. And we also get to see there are other things कि Forster, Edward Carpenter से he got the inspiration to write about the homosexual love. He was scared that just like D.H. Lawrence's work, Lady Chatterley's Lover, my book can also be banned. That's why इन्होंने अपने lifetime में इसको publish नहीं कराया था. ठीक है. That is what we see here. Next up, the next question. D.H. Lawrence's 1926 novel, The Plumed Serpent, is set in which country? ये कुछ questions आपको ऐसे देखने के लिए मिलेंगे, wherein you will have the straight answers to the वो, है ना? तो यहाँ पे the right answer is Mexico, और इसको Mexico बोलते हैं वैसे in the natives, if we try to talk about it, is known as, pronounced as Mexico. ठीक है? So The Plumed Serpent, it had like several details. 1926, you guys note it down. Now it was having a previous title. So first of all, D.H. Lawrence के बारे में किसी ने बोला था that he was so much filled up with emotions, tiredness, etc. that he nearly killed himself while penning this particular novel down. ठीक है. So इनकी एक फ्रेंड थी, लॉरेंस की एक फ्रेंड थी, उन्होंने बोला था कि लॉरेंस nearly killed himself, ठीक है, while finishing this work. ठीक है. इसकी समरी पढ़ो नहीं पढ़ो कोई वो इतना वो नहीं है. ठीक है. So this is there. अच्छा, कुछ important detail जो मैं आपको एक और बता रही थी, that it was given a different title when it was published in a different place. अगर हम बात करते हैं, it was given a title which Lawrence liked. Lawrence liked कौन सा title? Queth, QUETZALCOATL. ठीक है. This was the title that Lawrence liked, and Lawrence hated this title, but he still moved forward with it, right? So this is the right answer to this question. And E.M. Forster के accordingly, E.M. Forster considers this Lawrence's best work. ठीक है. Important. Next up, Which two writers can be described as writing historical novels? So if we try to take a look at the options provided here, Sir Walter Scott, we have covered him in the previous lectures as well. Ivanhoe, Old Mortality, in सब place के साथ हम इनको जानते हैं. So him and Maria Edgeworth. Maria Edgeworth, right? So making it option C as the right answer. Option C as the right answer. Let's just take a look at some important works which और Walter Scott को बोला ही जाता था that he was a historical novelist. ठीक है? So note down some important works written by Sir Walter Scott. Note down. The names of the works are Old Mortality, 1816. ठीक है? इसके पहले लिखिए, सॉरी इसके पहले क्रोनोलॉजी में लिखिए. 1814 में इन्होंने वेवरली नॉवेल स्टार्ट कर लिए थे. ठीक है? दैट वाज अ सीरीज. देन 1815, ये सारे वेवरली नॉवेल्स ही हैं. गाय मैनरिंग. देन 1816 द एंटीक्वेरी. और 1816 में ही ओल्ड मॉर्टालिटी. देन 1818 द हार्ट ऑफ मिडलोथियन. इन पे बहुत कम मटेरियल अवेलेबल है, सो यू कैन रीड जितना अवेलेबल है ऑन द इंटरनेट. ठीक है? 1823 क्वेंटिन डरवर्ड. We have covered it in the one of the previous videos. Then we have Red Gauntlet. Coming to Maria Edgeworth. She was popular for writing, children's literature as well. ठीक है? Children's literature as well. So her important work is Castle Rackrent. That came in the year 1800. That came in the year 1800. Walter Scott ने 2 poems भी लिखी हैं. Walter Scott wrote 2 poems as well. What were the names of the poems? One was Marmion. ये पूछा गया पेपर में इसलिए लिखवा रही हूँ. Marmion, M-A-R-M-I-O-N, 1808. And then the other one we have is The Lady of the Lake, 1810. ठीक है? Castle Rackrent is an important novel by her and Belinda in the year 1801. That's it. Now coming to the other options as well. अगर हम शार्लेट ब्रॉन्टे की बात करते हैं, शार्लेट ब्रॉन्टे जेन एयर के लिए जानी जाती हैं. शार्लेट ब्रॉन्टे and she had a pseudonym. ब्रॉन्टे सिस्टर्स के pseudonym थे ना, करर बेल. C for Charlotte, C for Currer Bell. ठीक है? So important works: Jane Eyre in the year 1847. Villette, V-I-L-L-E-T-T-E, 1853. Then The Professor, 1857. This was posthumously published. If we try to talk about the other option that we have had here, Jane Austen, इनके works हम बहुत बार already कर चुके हैं and we have noted them down on our notebooks as well. So these 3 were the new ones, मतलब in detail ऐसे. Hope you have noted them down. ठीक है. Next up, in Bunyan's Pilgrim Progress, Christian and his friend Faithful caused a commotion at the Vanity Fair for many reasons. Which of the following statements is not true of their appearance at the fair? So we have talked about, we know the full title of Pilgrim's Progress, from this world to that which is to come. Who was the writer? Bunyan writer थे. John Bunyan was the writer here. Allegorical tale है about how a Christian should be leading their lives. अच्छा, क्रिश्चियन एंड उनके फ्रेंड फेथफुल अब क्या करते हैं, इनमें से हमें कौन सा नहीं है, दैट इज द राइट आंसर दैट वी हैव टू पिक. द राइट आंसर इज ऑप्शन सी. दे सैंपल एवरी एंटरटेनमेंट एट द फेयर. नो. They are dressed differently than the other fair goers. Yes. They speak the language of the Bible at the fair. Yes, because they want to come across as spirituals. ठीक है. And they are at the Christian is at his journey. How to be a true Christian. So he uses, both of them, they use the Bible's language. They refuse to look at the merchandise at the fair. But what is wrong here is कि they sample every entertainment at the fair. They don't. They are the ones who are like कि हम एक spiritual journey के towards जा रहे हैं. Vanity fair में we will see different sorts of items and we should not be tempted looking at those items. So that's why they do not sample any item at the Vanity fair. Next. What does the title Morte the Arthur mean? We just have done this particular question. Option B is the right answer. Death of King Arthur. Thomas Malory ने लिखा हुआ था ये particular work. ठीक है. Next up. Which of the following is not an allegorical character in the play Everyman? अच्छा, जब हम play Everyman की बात करते हैं, Everyman was a play which full title क्या है इसका? The Summoning of Everyman. I'll make you guys note down the full title. The Summoning of Everyman. What sort of a play is it? It's a morality play. What were morality plays? Morality plays क्या करते थे? They were the ones who were based on the morals. So morals were personified, etc. Sins were personified, so on and so forth. Now which amongst, जैसे अगर हम बनियन का Pilgrim Progress देखते हैं, right? There also we see Christian's journey towards being the true Christian. Here as well, it's a journey of every man in his life wherein he or she will come across different things, strength, discretion, kindred. Christian is not an allegorical character because Christian is a character in what? Every man is a character in every man, representing every man on the earth. Christian is a character in Pilgrim's Progress and not in every man here. ठीक है. ये 1530 में आया था, ये प्ले जो था 1530 में आया था, and it is said to be, you know, a translation of the Dutch play. It is said to be a translation of the Dutch play. What is the name of the Dutch play? 𝐃𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐿𝐼C. 𝐿𝐶. I don't know how to pronounce it. Next, why do the homonyms, ये कहाँ से लिया गया है homonyms? Gulliver's Travels. Discussed about each and everything. ठीक है. Gulliver's Travels written by Jonathan Swift. A satire, right? Jonathan Swift एक satire लिखी गई थी 1726 में. ठीक है. A satire, it was written. So what? Fourth part में हमें homonyms to the land of the homonyms. This is divided into 4 parts. We have discussed those parts as well. ठीक है. Now, why do they have so few words in their language? Because of the fact that their wants and needs and passions are fewer than humans' wants and passions, and they need fewer words. The homonyms are the horses who have taken up yahoos, the humans, as their servants. So they speak very less क्योंकि ये ज़्यादा homonyms थोड़ा nature इनका कैसा है, philosophical nature है, तो ये कम बोलते हैं, शब्दों का कम उपयोग करते हैं. They consider language to be morally corrupt? No. They find speech difficult? No. They prefer actions to words? No. But yes, because of the fact that they think कि हाँ जी philosophical stance के साथ चलते हैं, and they are the ones who are thinking of life as something which has yet to offer, and basically कम से कम शब्दों का, you know, they use. So option A is the correct answer. Next up, The last word in James Joyce's work, Finnegan's Wake, is, the right answer to this question is option B here, the. The is the last word in James Joyce's work, Finnegan's Wake. Now note down certain things about Finnegan's Wake. Finnegan's Wake was a work written by James Joyce in the year 1939, जब World War II जो थी start हो चुकी थी, ठीक है? And what we see is that the last line, I have noted down, एक अलग question भी आया था, I'll just tell you. The last line goes, the keys to full stop given exclamatory mark away, alone, a last, a loved, along, the, and full stop. This is the last word that we see in Finnegan's Wake. Now also एक और आपका ना previous एक question है which goes like that, what is the last word in Joyce's Ulysses? ठीक है, अगर हम बात करते हैं Ulysses जो Joyce की लिखी गई है by James Joyce, उसके last word क्या है, उसका last word क्या है? We'll just note down the quote again here as well, right? Because I have come across that question too. उसके last words हैं, his heart was going like mad, and yes, I said, yes, I will, yes. So what is the last word of Ulysses here? Ulysses का last word is yes. ठीक है? Now both these works which have been written by James Joyce, they employ a technique which is known as a technique in the model, because these were modernist novels थे ये, ठीक है? So these had technique which was known as stream of consciousness, which means that you are going to let your conscious thoughts flow on a piece of paper as they are coming. So चाहे वो उल्टे पुल्टे आ रहे हैं, and this was a technique used by the modern writers. Now this technique was something, अगर आप बात करें तो ये हेनरी जेम्स के ब्रदर विलियम जेम्स ने in his book The Principles of Psychology coin करी है, ठीक है? He has coined this particular term in The Principles of Psychology. Next up, you want a note? एक बार लिख लो, देख लो. Next question we have is P.B. Shelley's work Julia and Medardo is a conversation between Julia and Count Medardo. Who do these two characters represent? So Julia represents Shelley and Count Medardo represents Byron. ठीक है? Represents Byron. तो आप लोग जो है, you'll have to memorize this thing. First of all, note down the details related to Julia and Medardo. ठीक है? Full title क्या है? Subtitle goes like a conversation. Conversation. It's a poem. ठीक है? And it was published posthumously in 1824. And it is written in heroic couplets में लिखी गई है. Now why is Julian representing Shelley? Because of the fact that Shelley was one such sort of a writer who had his points of views which were very idealistic. So idealism Shelley represent करते हैं empathy and optimistic attitude. On the other hand, Byron जो है, who is represented through the figure of Count Mordallo. ये थोड़े cynical हैं, ठीक है? He is a little cynical sort of a character who is having a jaded perspective of life, which is a negative one. ठीक है? थोड़ा negative conception है about life. Right? Moving forward to the next question. Towards the end of Evelyn was a handful of dust. The protagonist, Tony Last, is trapped in the jungle by a calculating, crazy Mr. Todd, who forces him to read and reread the novels of a particular author. Waugh also has written a short story dealing with Tony's singular experience in the jungle. Who is the novelist referred to, and what is the title of the short story written by Evelyn Waugh? So the right answer to this question is option C here, Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens, and Charles Dickens was the writer, ठीक है, who is the novelist referred to, and this is the short story that वो wrote. वो ने ये short story लिखी थी. Now, basically, Tony Last is one such person who is having an ideology which is very much romantic. इसकी रोमांटिक थिंकिंग है नेचर को लेके थोड़ा ऐसे, ठीक है. ऑन दी अदर हैंड अगर मिस्टर टॉड की बात करते हैं, ये थोड़े रियलिस्ट आ जाते हैं, ठीक है. और ही चार्ल्स डिकेंस के वर्क्स, इफ यू गाइस वुड हैव रेड, you will see in his works we get lots to see the reality which is not so good, the brutal reality of life in Dickens's works we get to see, right? And how we also see that this harsh reality is being imposed on किसके ऊपर? टोनी लास्ट के ऊपर, right? So on Tony Last, this harsh reality by, ये थोड़ा रियलिस्ट है और ये harsh reality दिखा रहे हैं हमें, ठीक है. And this harsh reality Tony does not like. So Todd is saying read Charles Dickens because he presents you with the worldview of the reality. He gives you a reality check, and because of this singular experience that Waugh ने अपने वर्क में दिखाया था, उसी singular experience के basis पे she wrote a particular a work. She wrote a work, short story लिखी थी, कौन सी? The Man Who Liked Dickens. So coming back to the other details, a handful of dust. This was published in the year 1934. ठीक है? So he was really very famous. I think I was saying she na. He was really very famous after post World War. So 1934 में ये work लिखा गया था. That's it. That's what you want to know about this particular thing. Moving on to the next question. Antagonized by what he considered to be the provinciality of the lake poets, Byron wrote the preface to which of his works as a rebuke to Wordsworth's own introduction to the Thorn? The right answer is option B. Don Juan का preface जो है Byron ने खुद के लिए लिखा था. Now separate question again ये भी बन जाता है that who are lake poets? अगर हम बात करते हैं lake poets की, who were lake poets? 3 people have been asked in your PYQs as a separate one. William Wordsworth, Coleridge, ठीक है. अगर हम बात करते हैं विलियम वर्ड्सवर्थ, कोलरिज एंड रॉबर्ट सदी जो हैं, एंड सदी जो हैं, these are the 3 lake poets. ठीक है, these are the lake poets. Now why were they known as lake poets? Because of the fact that they lived in the lake district. That's why. ठीक है. So Don Juan, we have done this particular work written by Lord Byron. ठीक है. Lord Byron ने Don Juan लिखा था at also 1819 to 1824. 16 out of 17 cantos, which makes this work unfinished one. ठीक है. Next up, Childe Harold's Pilgrimage. Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, right? This is also what we have covered in the class as well. ठीक है. Childe Harold's Pilgrimage भी करा हुआ है. The Vision of Judgment, which was an 1822 में, and as a response to Sadi's work, A Vision of Judgment, which came in the year 1821. Now, Prisoner of Chillon जो है, इसके बारे में I want to give you guys a little bit detail about, right? This one was a poem that was written in the year 1816. 1816 में ये पोम लिखी गई थी. द प्रिजनर ऑफ शिलोंग वॉज मॉडल्ड. इंस्पिरेशन कौन सी थी? रियल लाइफ एक प्रिजनर थे, उनका नाम था फ्रैंकोए बोनीवार्ड. फ्रैंकोए बोनीवार्ड. So basically, prisoner of Chillon में there are 6 people. It tells the tale of the last survivor of a family who has seen his father also die. His father was burnt at stake. उनके 2 brothers जो हैं battles में मर जाते हैं. Then if we try to see, 6 people were there. 6 people were there, out of which 1 father died. ठीक है, 2 भाई battlefield में मर जाते हैं, तो ये 3 हो गए. 3 जने जो हैं they are in prison, जिसमें से 2 भाई they die again. He sees them dying. He sees them dying in the prison, trying to, एक जना उनमें से थोड़ा पॉजिटिव अप्रोच रखता है टुवर्ड्स लाइफ, दैट ओके सम टाइम वी विल बी हम आजाद हो जाएंगे यहाँ से, बट एट टाइम्स वो भी फिर हिम्मत छोड़ देता है. एट द एंड ओनली द प्रिजनर ऑफ द लास्ट प्रिजनर, द लास्ट मेंबर ऑफ द फैमिली, ही सर्वाइव्स. एंड उसकी एंडिंग इतनी अच्छी है ना, ये पोम की एंडिंग इतनी प्यारी एंडिंग है दैट he says that I am one such person who has survived now, but at what cost? Like people एक दिन इसको आते हैं, जो jailers हैं वो इसको छोड़ने के लिए आते हैं कि तुम बाहर चले जाओ, तुमको अब छोड़ दिया गया है. तो he says that no, now I can't go out because I have made this particular jail, this prison my home, right? So how he does not want to go out now because he has nowhere to go, nothing left with him, right? Next up, in John Gay's work, Beggar's Opera, what is Peacham's occupation? What is Peacham's occupation? First of all, this is a work written by John Gay. It's a ballad opera. ठीक है? Ballad opera. कब लिखा गया था? It was written in the year 1728. And how many acts were there? 3 acts were there. ठीक है? He is, Peacham की occupation क्या है? He is shown as the fencer of stolen goods and master of a gang of thieves and impeder of less powerful criminals, which makes it option A, that is 3 and 4 as the correct answer. Now, ये इसकी summary आप लोग पढ़ेंगे. You will go read the summary of this particular work, and based on John Gay's Beggar's Opera, Bertolt Brecht ने भी एक particular work लिखा था. There's this particular writer named as Bertolt Brecht. Bertolt Brecht, the good woman, the good person of Sézanne करके भी इन्होंने एक वर्क लिखा हुआ है. So Bertolt Brecht wrote the work The Three Penny Opera, inspired and wrote The Three Penny Opera. उसमें यही सारे सेम कैरेक्टर्स हैं which are there in John Gay's The Beggar's Opera. ये 1928 में बर्तोल्ट ब्रेथ ने लिखा था. ठीक है? That's it. Next, we move forward to the next question in the poem in memory of Major Robert Gregory, Lady Gregory's son. W.B. Yeats mentions an Irish writer who had found his inspiration in the most desolate stony place, that he came towards nightfall upon a race, passionate and simple like his heart. Who is this writer? The right answer is J.M. Synge here, option B. ठीक है, आपके John Millington Synge is the right answer, right? So इनसे क्यों? क्योंकि J.M. Synge खुद जो हैं at at the advice of Yeats lived with sailors on, कहाँ पे रहे थे? He lived on Aran Islands, and this place served as the setting or material for his plays. लेडी ग्रेगरी हो गई, प्लस आपके W.B. Yeats हो गए. Also, if we try to talk about J.M. Synge हो गए and Edward Martin हो गए. These are the people who were writing for the Irish literary theatre, which was found in 1899, right? 1899 during इनकी एक मूवमेंट चली थी आयरिश लिटरेरी रिवाइवल, एंड यही थिएटर was renamed in 1904 as the Abbey Theatre, which is in Dublin, Ireland. ठीक है, so that is important for you all to note down. अच्छा, इसके साथ ये भी चीज एक important है कि ये पोम जो उन्होंने लिखी थी लेडी ग्रेगरी के बेटे रॉबर्ट ग्रेगरी के लिए, ये कब लिखी गई थी? इट वाज रिटन इन द ईयर 1918. All right, please note down. Next question. As Adam and Eve leave paradise hand in hand with wandering steps and slow in book 12, sorry, what is their consolation? Book 12 is the last book that we see. What is their consolation? They are comforted by their foreknowledge of the coming of Christ as the Redeemer of mankind. Option B is the right answer. Book 12 में God जो है, He is one such. अच्छा, दो आपको एंजल्स देखने के लिए मिलेंगे. रफेल जो है वो वॉर्न करता है, he warns Adam about what is to come etc. And Michael नाम का जो एंजल है, he is one such who is showing Adam the visions, that what will be visions of the future, what will be happening. So वो नोआ की बोट भी दिखाते हैं कि नोआ की एक बोट आएगी, there will be the judgment day, the flood will come and the second coming of Christ will also be there, right? So both of them, when, अच्छा एक चीज और important इसमें ये आ जाती है that we get to see by the end of this particular work that God does not come to punish Adam and Eve. I have told you, character of God is just not given a physical body. Physical body नहीं दिखाई या describe करी गई है. God is just shown in the work as an aura. But God का एक बेटा है who is known as the Son, who will take the avatar of, who will take or be reincarnated as Jesus Christ, ठीक है, to redeem mankind of their sins etc. And that is also pre-decided in Paradise Lost. So what happens here is that जब Adam and Eve, both of them, they commit the sin of eating the fruit of knowledge from the tree of knowledge, God sends his son to punish them. Now all the serpents, जितने भी serpents थे, उनको ये श्राप दे दिया जाता है, कर्स दे दिया जाता है, पनिशमेंट दे दी जाती है that you will just be rolling down on your bellies for your entire lives and you will be killed by humans. And serpents, humans को क्या दिया गया श्राप और punishment that serpents with their poison will be killing you. Number one. Number two, what happens is that Adam and Eve, both of them, they are punished. And when they are punished, Michael has shown them the visions. And उस vision से थोड़ा, और vision किसको दिखाता है? ये सिर्फ visions जो हैं future to Adam only, Eve को नहीं दिखाता, सिर्फ Adam को दिखाता है वो सारी visions, क्योंकि लड़की को नहीं दिखानी है, ठीक है? So ईव को विजन्स नहीं दिखाई जाती है, बट एडम इज कंफर्टेड दैट मे बी द रिडीमर ऑफ मैनकाइंड एज क्राइस्ट बन के गॉड का बेटा सन विल बी कमिंग टू सेव ऑल ऑफ अस. वन ऑफ द विजन्स इज ऑल्सो दैट एडम एंड ईव के बच्चे जो होंगे, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इनको बोल दिया गया नाउ एडम will be representing the race of men and he will be working his heart and body out in the sense कि अपनी इतनी लेबर करेगा, स्वेट करेगा एंड उस स्वेट मेहनत के थ्रू पैसे कमा के लाएगा तो ही खा पाएगा. ये गॉड ने एडम को यानी पूरी मर्द की जो जाति थी उसको ये पनिशमेंट दे दी. एंड टू ईव दैट यू विल बी फेसिंग द पेन ऑफ लेबर. You will have to make sure that you are obedient as a wife to your husband. You'll always be submissive. ठीक है, तो ये चीजें बोली गई. Also from one of the visions, नोआ की विजन दिखाई जाती है, सेकेंड कमिंग दिखाई जाती है, जिसके ऊपर W.B. Yeats ने पोम भी लिखी है. उसके अलावा भी what we get to see is that one vision is also shown to Adam, that is of Manfred and Cain. Manfred जिसके ऊपर बायरन ने ड्रामा लिखा है, एंड केन, ये दो दे वर चिल्ड्रन ऑफ एडम एंड ईव. ये भी एक फ्यूचर विजन का ही माइकल दिखाता है कि योर चिल्ड्रन बोथ बॉयज विल किल ईच अदर. सो एक फादर ये विजन देख के कैसा उसको फील हुआ होगा, राइट? बट ही इज अगेन लीविंग इट अप टू गॉड दैट गॉड विल कम रिडीम. तभी क्राइस्ट की रेसरेक्शन का कॉन्सेप्ट आया. इन पर्टिकुलर विलियम ब्लेक वाज इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय द रिलीजियस राइटिंग्स ऑफ मार्टिन लूथर, जेकब बीमी, इमैनुअल स्वीडनबर्ग, कॉन्फिस्क्विस. व्हाट इज द राइट आंसर? The right answer is option C here, that is 2 and 3, Jacob Beamy and Immanuel Swedenborg, right? Jacob Beamy, he was William Blake का तो हमें पता है कि he himself was a person who had visions, he was a visionary, ठीक है, मिस्टिक थे ये खुद भी. और जेकब बीमी, he was a German mystic, ठीक है. रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन गॉड एंड ह्यूमैनिटी की बात करते हैं तो उसी तरीके से हमें सॉन्ग्स ऑफ इनोसेंस एंड एक्सपीरियंस में दिस इंस्पिरेशन इज सीन, ठीक है. देन इमैनुअल स्वीडनबर्ग, अ स्वीडिश थियोलॉजियन एंड मिस्टिक. ये आफ्टर लाइफ की बात करते हैं, आफ्टर लाइफ एंड स्पिरिचुअलिटी की बात करते हैं. उसको इंस्पिरेशन मिला जर्मन मिस्टिक से, इनको गॉड एंड ह्यूमंस का रिलेशनशिप एंड स्पिरिचुअलिटी. ऑलराइट, गो ऑन, नोट फॉरवर्ड. Next question. In his poem Whispers of Immortality, Eliot says that a dramatist was much possessed by death and saw the skull beneath the skin, and a poet knew the anguish of the marrow and the ache of the skeleton. was the dramatis in the poet referred to by Eliot? The right answer is option B here, John Donne and John Webster and John Donne. If you remember, there's this particular very beautiful drama written by John Webster, which tries to literally show us the theme of death, skull beneath the skin. I had watched this drama when I was reading this particular play in my bachelor's. What was the name of the play? अगर आप बात करते हैं, एक इनका play है The Duchess of Malfi. The Duchess of Malfi is a play written by John Webster. ठीक है, John Webster. And specifically what happens in this play is that there's a duchess. She falls in love with a man below her position or status. दो भाई होते हैं इनके, and दोनों brothers, they want her to marry a guy or somebody अपने स्टेशन का, ठीक है, अपने स्टैचर का, स्टेशन का, जो भी है. But she becomes pregnant, and eventually how the events unfold that इनके भाई इस खुद की सिस्टर को एक asylum में among the mad men, ठीक है, वो छोड़ देते हैं कि you are supposed to live with them, so on and so forth. So that is the story. So ये death का concept with whom we saw majority of the time, and John Webster was a Jacobean dramatist. And who is the poet that Eliot is trying to talk about? Eliot is referring to John Donne. The metaphysical poet knew the anguish of the marrow and the ache of the skeleton here. ठीक है? So how he deals with the theme of mortality, human condition, right? Theme of mortality. इस particular poem में Eliot tries to talk about it. ठीक है? अच्छा, इस poem की details लिखेंगे. It was written somewhere between 1915 to 1918, ठीक है, and published in Little Review magazine, Little Review in 1919, ठीक है, 1919. That's it. In John Bunyan's Pilgrim Progress, what is the first obstacle encountered by Christian on his progress? The right answer is option A, the slough of despond. The slough of despond is the first obstacle that Christian faces. If we try to move forward by reading Bunyan's work, Pilgrim's Progress, from this world unto which one is to come. ठीक है, तो slough of despond जो है, it represents despair and confusion. It represents despair and confusion. Vanity Fair, we try to talk about the marketplace, which tries to talk about the goods and distraction, the vanities of life. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे goods and distractions और Vanity Fair में ये अपने friend good faith के साथ जाते हैं. ठीक है, ये it represents, basically it is representing temptation and materialism लिख सकते हैं, उसको represent कर रहा है. Then the river of death is the final trial when Christian is about to enter or end his pilgrimage. कि एक fear होता है ना, सबको मौत का fear होता है, तो river of death में it represents the fear of death that all of us human beings do have. The swamp of despair is not directly referred to, अगर हम बात करते हैं, it sounds similar to the slough of despond. So option A is the right answer to this question. Next is identify the correct chronological sequence of the publication of the four parts of the four quartets. Four parts of the four quartets. Who was the writer of the four quartets? The writers of the four quartets was Mr. T.S. Eliot. And ये four quartets अलग अलग time पे Eliot ने publish करे थे until he published them in the form of a book, right? So note down please. These were four poems basically. These four quartets were four poems that he wrote. मैंने इसको कैसे याद करा था अपने time पे जब I was preparing for the examination. The right answer should be option C. ठीक है, कैसे याद करा था मैंने, इसका एक वो बना लिया था, एक्रोनियम बना लिया था फोर क्वार्टरेट्स याद करने का, बेस्ट. सो बी फिर ईस्ट कोकर का ई, फिर सैल्वेजेस का एस एंड लिटिल गिडिंग का टी. सो मैंने इसको इस तरीके से याद करा था क्योंकि इन द क्वेश्चन पेपर एज यू सी क्रोनोलॉजी हैज बीन आस्क्ड. नाउ कमिंग बैक अगेन टू द इम्पोर्टेंट नोट्स दैट वी ऑल आर सपोज्ड टू मेक हियर. अगर हम बात करते हैं, हर एक फोर पोम्स को प्लेस नेम्स दिए गए हैं. टाइटल्स जो हैं दे आर रेफर्ड, दे आर डिफरेंट प्लेस नेम्स दैट आर गिवन. नोट डाउन, बर्न्ट नॉर्टन 1936 में आई थी, देन ईस्ट कोकर 1940, ठीक है, देन ड्राई सैल्वेजेस 1941 एंड लिटिल गिडिंग इन द ईयर 1942. इन द ईयर 1942. सिर्फ पहले वाले में 4 इयर्स का डिफरेंस है. देन 41 40 41 42, इसको भी मैंने इसके इयर्स याद करे थे, 36 40 41 42. ऑलराइट, देन we move forward to the next question. Which of the following statement best describes the narrative perspective employed in Thomas More's Utopia? Utopia written in Latin में 1516 में लिखी गई थी. Then English में it was translated by Ralph Robinson in the year 1556, I guess. Just let me confirm it once as well. हाँ जी, 1556. ये भी सेपरेट क्वेश्चन क्योंकि आया हुआ है ना आपका, इसलिए. सो द राइट आंसर इज ऑप्शन ए, फर्स्ट पर्सन नरेशन ऑफ राफेल हेथलोडे, ही इज आल्सो कैरेक्टर. एंड देन 3, first person narration by a narrator called Thomas More. So Thomas More as a narrator also comes in the story. ठीक है, अपने recounts he tries to tell about his experiences. Raphael Hitlerday अपने experiences को recount करके बताते हैं. first person narrative में यही होता है, ठीक है. And इसमें utopia, what does the word utopia mean? The word utopia means the land of nowhere. The land of nowhere. Right? Next up, while compiling, what sort of book did Samuel Richardson conceive the idea for his Pamela or Virtue Rewarded? Pamela or Virtue Rewarded, first of all, is what sort of a novel? The genre is an epistolary novel. What do we mean by epistolary? We have covered that in the previous lectures as well, जब Pamela का ही question कर रहे थे. It means a novel which is written in the form of letters. So Pamela is writing letters to his family, writing letters to God as well, right? So this particular work was published in the year 1740. 1740 में publish करा गया था. It was based on the book of model letters, a book of model letters, ठीक है, which some people brought to him. इन्होंने ये भी बोला था कि मैं इसी वजह से लिखूंगा, इफ इट विल बी, इसको कंडक्ट लिटरेचर भी बोलते हैं. वी हैव कवर्ड दैट इन द लास्ट लेक्चर एज वेल. because Richardson wanted to show that how people should conduct their own selves, keeping their virtue intact, specifically women, right? So basically इसकी story हमने क्या देखी थी कि Pamela Andrews नाम की एक लड़की है, she works in a particular house and there the owner of that house, she used to work for Mr. B की कोई female relative ही रहती थी. So she passed away and then Mr. B wants to have a sexual encounter with Pamela, but she keeps on denying and denying and denying. So her virtue is tested time and again, that is she able to control her own emotions or not let a man come closer if she does not want. So this is what we see here. और इसके बारे में ये भी बताया था कि इसका सीक्वल भी लिखा था, इसका सीक्वल भी आया था which was published in the year 1742 named as Pamela in her exalted condition. This was a sequel to Pamela. All right. Next question. Who among the war poets gained notoriety in 1917 when disenchanted with the way the war was being conducted? He drafted his letter of willful defiance of the military authority, which captured attention in the House of Commons and was forcibly admitted to the war hospital at Craiglockhart, primarily to avoid him being court-martialed. The right answer is option B. Siegfried Sassoon is the right answer to this particular question. All the poets that are given here are the ones who are war poets. So we'll just be taking a look at the important, poems or poetries written by each of them. So पहले Siegfried Sassoon की बात करते हैं. Note down the Daffodil Murderer, 1913. The Old Huntsman, 1917. The General, 1917. Then Does It Matter, 1917. Counter Attack and Other Poems, 1918. Then we move forward to Rupert Brooke. Famously writing, he was, अच्छा इनके बारे में एक चीज ये है, he is, इनका ना मॉन्यूमेंट अनवील किया गया था पोएट्स कॉर्नर में. पोएट्स कॉर्नर में इनका एक मॉन्यूमेंट है, ठीक है, विच वॉज अनवील्ड इन द ईयर 1985. ठीक है. देन वी सी he has written a very famous poem. ये poem आप पढ़ेंगे, The Soldier, written in the year 1915, which is also titled as, also known as 1914 with the subtitle The Soldier. It's the poem written by Rupert Brooke. ठीक है. And note down पहले, then we'll move forward to the next two poets. The next one we have is Wilfred Owen. इनके सारी पोम्स ये जो लिखवा रही हूँ इंपॉर्टेंट है. Dulce et decorum est, समरीज पढ़ लीजिएगा इनकी. Insensibility, anthem for doomed youth, futility, spring offensive, strange meeting. Then coming here with Isaac Rosenberg, a lesser known war poet. ठीक है, इतना नहीं जाने चाहते. Poems from the trenches. Poems from the trenches. ठीक है, ये फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर के टाइम पे लिखी गई थी. देन 10 पोम्स लिखी गई थी. 10 पोम्स थी इस कलेक्शन में, which was titled as Night and Day, 1912. And then we have Youth, 1915. This was also another collection by Isaac Rosenberg. So these were the poets who were writing during the Edwardian and the Georgian era. What was the Edwardian and the Georgian era? Edwardian and Georgian era was, first of all, pre-World War or First World War जब शुरू होने वाली थी, the interwar years. So after the Victorian age, we don't directly jump to modern or post-modern age. We have a small time in between, which is known as Edwardian and Georgian era, जिसमें हमें सिर्फ war poets देखने के लिए मिलते हैं. One group of poets is somewhere or the other trying to talk about, the futility of war. How is it not so heroic? The other group says कि हाँ जी heroic होती है, अपने nation के लिए लड़ जाना मर जाना is really very good, right? So with this we come to the end of this particular session, wherein we solved the questions related to British literature, right? And we have tried to cater to each and every question in a descriptive manner. ठीक है, जो आपको मैं पीछे background भी stories का बताती हूँ, and जहाँ पे if I try to tell you that please do read about the summary of this poem, especially the opening and the closing lines as well, please do that, right? I'll see you guys in the next session. Till then, keep on studying. Thank you so much and have a good day. Bye-bye.